you know, right now, crypto is not quite at a point where it could become an everyday tool of, a quarter of the world or something. The tech isn't there yet, but it's not that far away. And and this is an if the industry keeps making progress rather than getting distracted too much by market prices, then, 5-10 years from now, you could imagine a world where all of a sudden it is the case that anyone can have a crypto wallet, a billion people could use it each day, with privacy, with security, fast, cheap, international, all the things that, that was promised and that absolutely are distracted from by the latest meme coins.
From his prison cell, Sam Bankman-Fried envisions a future that resembles a techno-libertarian's dream, a world where 1 billion people use cryptocurrency daily, enjoying freedom and privacy. However, this vision emerges at a time when both his credibility and the crypto industry are under intense scrutiny. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, he goes beyond discussing technology. He reflects on power, policy, and the harsh lessons he has learned. His predictions extend beyond Bitcoin. They encompass the ongoing battle between innovation and control, as well as between promises and reality.
I mean, not surprisingly, changing the guard helps, but financial regulators, they're big, giant bureaucracies in the federal government. They're not used to changing overnight. And they have been playing a really obstructive role for, a decade in crypto. The US, it's 30% of the world's finance. It's about 5% of the world's crypto. And the reason it's entirely regulatory, it's just the US was unique in its difficulty to work with.
Bankman-Fried makes a pointed observation about the United States' sluggish relationship with cryptocurrency, contrasting its dominance in global finance with its limited crypto footprint. He lays the blame on regulators, describing them as immovable institutions more interested in maintaining control than fostering innovation. It's a sobering look at why Bitcoin hasn't taken over just yet, and why it still might.
You think world governments would allow that? I mean, if you actually allowed the world's population to conduct financial transactions without the control of governments, then governments would collapse instantly, wouldn't they?
Well, it's an interesting question. And there are a lot of degrees here about the level of oversight and control that a government would have. You look at something like Bitcoin, and the wallets are anonymous, but there is a public ledger of every transfer that happens. So it is possible for governments to have some level of knowledge without having control of it. That being said, not all the governments in the world view this the same. And the United States government over the last 30 years has taken one view towards control of, not just the United States, frankly, but the world's monetary, dealings. And you see, a different viewpoint, much more authoritarian, but also much more insular in a lot of sort of dictatorships. But half the world doesn't try to have nearly the level of government involvement in day-to-day financial transactions that the United States has.
Here he touches on the elephant in the room: control. The decentralized promise of Bitcoin challenges centralized power structures that have dominated the financial landscape for decades. It's not merely a technological shift, it's fundamentally about governance and the distribution of power. Sam, even behind bars, is left reflecting on a profound question. Is true financial freedom even possible in a world where states fundamentally rely on controlling the flow of money? His thoughts echo the concerns of many who believe that without greater decentralization, the dream of financial autonomy may remain just that, a dream.
The company that I used to own, maybe I still do own, I don't know, it's in bankruptcy, had nothing intervened today, it would have about $15 billion of liabilities and about $93 billion of assets. So the answer should be, in theory, yes, that there was enough money to pay everyone back in kind at the time or today with, plenty of interest left over and tens of billions left for investors. But that's not how things worked out. And instead, it all got embroiled up in a bankruptcy where the assets were dissipated incredibly quickly by those controlling it. They're siphoned off tens of billions of dollars worth. And it's been a colossal disaster. And I mean, not stopping that from happening is by far the biggest regret of my life.
Sam feels an enormous sense of regret, not only in its magnitude, but also in its emotional weight. He doesn't deny the collapse. Instead, he mourns it deeply. He argues that the numbers indicated solvency, yet the process ultimately undermined that data. This statement isn't a defense of his actions. Rather, it's a critique of the system he believes dismantled his empire and possibly undermined the potential of cryptocurrency in one swift motion.
Being honest.
Yeah. 10 years ago, the answer was clearly yes, or at least yes relative to the scale of the industry. You look in the mid, 2014 to 2017 sort of era, and there is not, the industry is a lot smaller than it was today. And a lot of the transactions that you saw, or at least a higher fraction of them, were, well, different people use different words for it, but Silk Road, as an example, right? People purchasing narcotics online was a common use of crypto back 10 years ago or so. Obviously, there are always going to be criminals in any industry, but over time, the fraction of the industry that represents has fallen off really substantially, both because of sort of growth of other areas of interest in crypto and also because of more government involvement on the anti-money laundering side.
Bankman-Fried acknowledges crypto's checkered past, but points to a maturing ecosystem. The criminal activity, he claims, has been pushed to the fringes. Government pressure and industry growth have refined the space. He's not denying the sins. He's suggesting redemption is underway, even as his own case looms like a shadow over that claim.
You disagree?
I disagree, although there's a caveat to it, which is that, a classic mistake which people make, and I may have made at some points, is with people who you don't know, who are distant from you, thinking you know what they need when you don't. Being paternalistic, kind of condescending. And, there's so many foreign aid type projects that have gone awry, ended up being complete wastes of money because no one knew the people they're giving to. No one knew what their lives were like. And they're just guessing it with those people. It's just wrong. And they show up with like a bunch of water pumps to a village that has plenty of water and no food. And all these people shipped in from Harvard to go hand out these water pumps no one wants. And, there's sort of like example after example of this going awry. Whereas obviously, like when you're dealing with people you have a much better sense of how to help them. And that's real. Like that effect is absolutely real. And, even if I think the life matters as much in one place as another, that doesn't mean that you know as well how to help one as you do the other.
This moment of reflection drifts away from Bitcoin but gives insight into Bankman-Fried's mindset. It's an uncomfortable reckoning with the gap between intention and outcome. His vision of crypto as a global good is tempered by the acknowledgement that doing good isn't simple, and that arrogance and distance often derail it. In this prison interview, Sam Bankman-Fried oscillates between being a visionary and a fallen architect. He boldly predicts that Bitcoin could become a globally adopted, privacy-focused tool within the next decade. stemming from a deep frustration with traditional financial institutions that he believes have failed both him and the crypto community. He acknowledges past industry flaws and warns against the risks of overregulation. Yet he insists that the dream of a decentralized financial future is still alive if progress continues. As he reflects on his own collapse with a mix of calculation and contrition, the discussion shifts to a broader question. What comes next for cryptocurrency? Bankman-Fried's insights serve as a call to action for both supporters and skeptics, highlighting the importance of dialogue about the future of digital currencies and their impact on the financial system. The stakes couldn't be higher, as the outcome could shape the future of trust and innovation in the economy.
I mean, I remember when the concept of crypto first arrived in the popular press, and the whole idea was that this was a currency that could restore to the individual his freedom of commerce. I get to buy and sell things without the government controlling me, and I could do it privately. It would restore my privacy as well. And that obviously has never happened. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen, and I don't hear anybody say it anymore.
Do you think Sam's vision of crypto's future is still possible, or has that dream already slipped away for good? Let us know in the comments.